People don't understand why you're leaving early. First time posting here, but have to get this out. Maybe this could also be posted in our anti-work. I was working for a smallish company. About 60 employees across several locations. IT support for both hardware, laptops, phones, and software. When I was hired, just under 9 years ago, it was verbally agreed that instead of clocking any callouts as overtime, I would just take the time in lieu. Callouts were always minimal and there were never any issues with me taking the time here and here. To make up for it, any calls in the middle of the night were quickly resolved, and I had no problem getting back to sleep. Appointments in the middle of the day were fine because of the additional hours from whenever. This worked well for almost my entire time there. I also always started early, just depending on when I left the house. Got into the office, got my coffee could have been anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes because I would leave the house earlier so as not to wake the family if school was off that day. I didn't care at that point. It never bothered me. They got free time from me. But again, I did not care because honestly, what else did I have to do? It was a great job until it wasn't. One weekend I was working on some hardware maintenance, cleaning up wiring, Ethernet, plugs, installing a new UPS. That took me the better part of Sunday to complete. 68 hours. This was understood, approved in advance and appreciated. The following week I decided to start burning those extra hours up. I still came in early, as I had done for years, but started leaving an hour early from my regular end time every day if nothing was going on. This is important if something needed done. I got it done. I was reachable via email until early evening, and phone pretty much 24/7. This particular week was slow so I had nothing going on. I left an hour early for the first 4 days. On Friday, my boss comes to me and gently says, "People notice that you've been leaving early this week. I'd like you to make sure you stay in your office until the scheduled end of day in case someone needs you." I explained to him that I was burning up lieu days and he just reiterated that it looks bad to others. Seriously? You can't tell the others that I work my 40 hours a week? Just not at the same time as them? Fine. Cue the MC. I immediately submitted 4 hours of overtime for the hours that I didn't take in lieu. I still showed up at the office at whatever time I got there, but did not start any work until 8 a.m. If asked, I would say, "Sure, 8 a.m. start time," if I got called outside of office hours. Depending on how long I spent on the issue, I logged it as overtime. User calls me at 7 p.m. to ask a question. I answer him in 30 seconds. 1 hour OT. When my boss then started to ask, "How come you're submitting all of this overtime?" I responded with a simple, "Some people don't understand or like me taking lieu time, so I need to claim it as overtime since I am at my desk from 84. Because I wasn't available at his beck and call. It ended up costing them more money. 95% of my job could be done from home because of full remote access. But that stupid old school mentality means that people in the office need to see you at your desk all day long. I left the company very shortly after that for a much better paying job with full work from home. Know your worth. I'm surprised you weren't demanding on-call pay. I had this exact same problem 20 plus years ago. Big.com. I was sole Unix admin responsible for keeping the e-commerce, aka our main source of revenue, online. 2 a.m. Sunday morning is when our Oracle database did maintenance. It often locked up and had to be babied back online. No biggie, take care of it. Take in lieu of. Our main systems weren't even at the offices. They were 90 miles away and my home internet had a faster connection to the data center than our offices did. So I could work faster from home. Literally. Came in one day to the office. Usually work 23 days per week from home. And my boss said some people had complained I'm almost never there. I basically said, so? I'm the only person responsible for the Unix servers and one of two. After you. Responsible for the database. So I don't need to be here to get the job done. He replied that it would just look better if I were in the office more. So I said sure. I'll be here 5 days a week. 95. And when I go home, my phone goes to silent. And I will not be logging into the corporate email system until Monday morning when I return to the office. If the database crashes at 2 a.m. as it usually does, you will fix it. Because hey, gotta be here can't be interrupting my sleep and risking being late. Now can I? Never mind, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, good idea. Good for you. Doing things just because they look bad, or look good, is so dumb. And yet so many managers follow those rules because they are too stupid to measure results in any other way. I did the same thing at a past job. Except the other way round. I would come in 3,040 minutes late. Not a morning person. But in exchange I'd stay until 7 p.m. to finish all pending tasks and lock up. Out of the blue I was reprimanded because being late is bad for optics, and I needed to be in the office at the same time as everyone else. The shocked Pikachu face that my boss did when I returned the key and told them from today I'll be leaving at the same time as everyone else. We had a busy body admin at my old office job who could be very sweet and personable, but got into everyone else's business. I was working this special project with the Europe group, so I had to start my day early. I would then leave early, and one day I just hear, "Oh, I wish I could go home early every day." Unfortunately, I was still quite young and felt the need to explain my departures to her. Now I would just ignore it. But back then it made me almost stay later to conform. Hey boss. Tell them that I don't see them at midnight when I have to come in to fix the server, and that looks bad. The server went down an hour after you left. Quote, then it'll presumably be down at 8 a.m. when the shift starts. That stupid old school mentality means that people in the office need to see you at your desk all day long. People being the out of touch upper management. Your peers don't care. We have contractors who come and go at all different hours. The only difference being that they're being paid as contractors, so they get to choose when they're on site. I had to deal with people noticing that I came in later than them. Must be nice rolling in an hour late. Must be nice leaving earlier than I do. Our department shift times aren't the same. She apparently never noticed that the production department was still cranking away when she walked through on the way to her car. But sure noticed us coming in when she'd been at her desk for an hour. I am sure you know. It's pretty standard in IT to use comp time. We are salary. When we deploy a major release, we can work 12-14 hours days, but since we are salaried employees, no OT. Most of the time, the bosses allow comp. It's a good setup. People like you and I don't abuse it. All it takes is one Karen. Ruins it for everyone. Well done. The ability of a coworker to understand my job is dependent on a boss who can explain it to them. We had a tech dude who hated coming in early. So we just said, who cares, work when you want to. As he would take care of emergencies, AMD work till 7 or 8 p.m. so he could have quiet work hours. One person complained once and I gave them a 20-minute lecture on the value said employee brings. And shower her every tool he manages. Created from scratch. And the endless after-hours emergency work he did. She never asked again. I had a boss exactly like this. Salary position. No clocking in, out. I'd work from 7 a.m. until around 6 p.m. Eat at my desk, etc. if the workload was heavy. But then some days I'd leave early or some in an hour late. Maybe take a 2-hour lunch. I'd been doing this for 2 years. Nobody had a problem. That is, until we got a new sales guy that was boss's friend. Kevin. His real name. Kevin made it pretty clear that he didn't like me from the beginning. So he felt it was his job, for whatever reason, to start watching me close and timing my days and then ratting me out to boss. Problem was Kevin wasn't there to see how late I stayed and had no idea when I arrived in the morning, and when he was out on sales calls that were netting us nothing. BTW. He didn't realize I ate at my desk some days while working. Boss man comes up to me, "It's been noticed that you're not working a full 8 hours every day. Let's try to start setting a good example. I realize you're on salary, but let's try to put in a full day from now on." Okay, whatever. I stopped working early and staying late. Took my full hour for lunch every day. Stopped coming in on weekends. Of course, the work started piling up and we were starting to miss deadlines. Not a good thing in advertising. Clients tend to leave. Oh well. Boss came to me again. "Aren't you going to work this weekend? We have an awful lot of work piling up." Looked him right in the eye and said, "No, I'm not. But you can let Kevin know that I'll work as fast as I can during my 8-hour day." Boss had a frowny face. Left that job after about 6 more months and started my own business that lasted for 27 years. Meanwhile, that company went under in another year or so. Fuck you, Kevin. My wife's position required her to frequently work evenings. She would flex her morning the next day for the loo time. Others in her office came in at 6 a.m. to flex their day earlier and leave at like 2. Complained that she wasn't available to them. They are all supposed to be in office between like 113. So all of those other employees were actually leaving too early, but it was my wife that was catching flack for it. I come into my office at 6 a.m. and work until 2:30 p.m. I get smart-ass comments of me leaving early. All the time. My hours were approved by management, but the office workers can't seem to grasp I'm just on a different schedule. Also, I get more work done because I don't get interrupted by them for 2 hours in the morning. Optics are usually more important than reality for suits, sadly. This is 100% a failure on your boss's end. And, as a tale as old as time keeps happening, people don't quit their jobs. People quit their managers. Your boss's failure to go at bat for you caused you to lose out on a major quality of life perk of the job that suited your life perfectly, until they took it away, which caused you to look for greener pastures. I'm glad you got out and found something better. I worked graveyards. The boss made me start at 2:30 a.m. instead of midnight so that our shifts would overlap. We met about once a month. Inpatient hospice RN here. I worked for a small, non-profit hospice. We had a very large outpatient service and an 8-bed, inpatient facility for those who could not be cared for in their homes. I was hired per diem to work the inpatient facility. On the night shift, I only worked every other weekend. Night shift, 117 to 30. And I scheduled myself for every other Saturday and Sunday night. This made my coworkers very happy because they could have a weekend off. Occasionally I would work Friday night too. Because why not? I was working nights, sleeping in the daytime anyway because of my normal shift. I picked up Friday nights as a favor to my coworkers who were not really interested in trading a weekend night. They just wanted coverage. I was reprimanded and told to be careful not to work more than 32 hours in a pay period because they would have to change my status to part-time rather than per diem and have to give me benefits. So, My coworkers who occasionally needed a Friday night off were screwed because they were told to find coverage where none could be found. There was no on-call staff because that would have been $2 for them. Wanna make your staff unhappy? Install shift coverage policies that treat us like non-humans and stand back and watch people leave for other jobs. I love your line, it was a great job until it wasn't. Expert MC, good on you. We IT people are in massive demand. Even now in a weakened economy. It takes me on average 8 days to find a new job. I have had 4 jobs in 4 years, with each getting easier and higher pay as I went. And the only reason I didn't stay was management. I come in, do a stellar job, management enforces boomer rules. We butt heads and I leave. It hurt one of the companies when I left because the other techs simply couldn't resolve issues as fast and efficient as I could. Another company actually took advantage of me and allowed me knock out 3 years worth of projects for them before starting their BS. I have now found myself at a company that is relatively chill and might stay here for a while, but my finances are great and I could retire in 3 years.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.